Hi friends, welcome to this new dimension on my channel as far as mental health is concerned. Today I'm going to talk to you about certain aspects related to mental health. This is another journey that I've been doing for the last 2 years, is trying to understand and help people manage mental health. This is in the realm of healing. Now, when we talk about what we do, I did a course on clinical hypnotherapy, and now I'm a qualified clinical hypnotherapist. Many people still wonder what it is. There is a lot of stigma, people have doubts, there are many people who get a lot of relief. So, what do we do exactly in hypnotherapy? But before we get into hypnotherapy, before we talk about mental health, before we talk about healing, there are several terms that become very confusing, very overlapping, and uh, spending some time getting clarity on them is something that is very, very important. So, I'm going to do these couple of videos trying to just put in certain models, certain understanding of these terms. So, in this particular video, I'm going to talk about the mind. Now, if you ask me, being from a physics background and selling medicines all my life, how do this whole healing through the mind sound to me? So when I started off, I also had my doubts, I had my questions, and the physics or the logical rational mind was questioning, again the mind was questioning this whole theories and concepts that came into being. So I'm just going to tell you something, that when we look at the mind, many people think it's the same thing as the brain. Where you ask people where's your mind, they will say that it is in the head or in the brain. And then there are terms that you use like a gut feel. And then people say that okay, gut feel will be related to certain autonomous nervous system, cellular memory. There are a lot of confusing terms that come up. So my whole point is, spending some time in understanding the difference between mind and brain will be very, very critical. So brain is something like, it's the hardware. It is the physical form of dealing with any of the issue. It is something that we understand in the realm of physics. But the functioning, like the software and its imagination and various dimensions of consciousness, all becomes the software of the same function faculty. So in the physical world, we understand the brain. If you are going into the metaphysical world of healing and metaphysical world of treating people, we need to understand the concept of the mind. When it comes down to treating people and their brains and working on them through the physical route, through medicines, through doctors, that the model of the mind, the model of the brain, the model of the body, the interdependence and structure is physics. It's known, we know the logic and reasoning. But when it comes down to mind, most of us really don't have a model or an understanding about this. In our schools or nowhere, they teach you about mind. So putting forward some understanding of the mind becomes something that is very, very critical. And this is a small attempt. So I'm not saying that this model of the mind that I put forward is God's gospel. I'm not saying that this model of the mind that I'm putting forward is something that is the only way to look at it. It's not physics. It's in the realm of metaphysics. You need to understand it. So take this model. If this model, understanding this model or this framework helps you solve certain mental problems, helps you achieve certain healing, if it brings you peace, then the model works. If you are not able to achieve it, scrap it and pick up another model. So when you come down to healing an individual, there is a difference. In the physical world, in physics, if you are trying to heal someone, then you call it a treatment. You're trying to treat someone, which the doctors do and physicians do and a surgeon will do. They will treat the physical aspect of your body. Physically they will try and treat you. But whereas when you are coming through the realm of hypnotherapy or the mental health and healing in that space, you are trying to heal them through the mind. So there's another concept that, if you look at the whole as a physics student, when you look at the duality of how an electron is one basic fundamental element of energy. When you talk about an electron can exist like a particle or like a wave. When we treat it completely like a particle, then we don't know any of its wave properties. When we treat it like a wave, we don't know its position. So this is the whole dilemma that has been there for a long period of time. So mind and the body, the brain and the mind are something like this. Brain is the physical aspect of your the same reality that is there, and the wave aspect is the mind. So to understand this wave aspect, the brain aspect, most of us can look up. We understand the brain as a central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. The brain is divided into various parts: cerebrum, medulla oblongata, pons, the spinal cord. So most of these things are known to you. You know that it works with neurotransmitters, and there releases acetylcholine, dopamine. If the neurotransmitters go low, it's called depression. When neurotransmitters go high, it's manic. So there are many of these things we know. The electrical way of the brain communication misfires. We know that epilepsy happens. So there's a lot that we know on this point. But when it comes down to the dealing with the wave and the mind form of it, there is very little understanding that we've got. This is one attempt at building that understanding, getting that understanding better. So I'm going to start talking about the mind. I've looked up at certain definitions. I think there are many of these definitions that you can find on Google. So look at these definitions. They say, what is a mind? Mind is an element of a person that enables them to be aware of the world, the experiences, to think, to feel, and the faculty of consciousness and thought. Now, if you look at this simple definition or any of these kind of definitions, there are too many words that come in. Each of those words also will require some understanding and some clarity. What is consciousness? What is it to means to experience? What is to think? What is to feel? Storage part of it in hardware, software, you can understand that something receives. How does this integration happens? So in computer terms, brain can be understood very well in terms of how a brain works in terms of storing certain things, and there are cells and many things can be talked about. But the processor, how does that work? I think that goes into the realm of metaphysics, which is the mind, and we are trying to understand the mind. So there are simple definitions also. A person's ability to think, reason, the intellect, that is what is called the mind. So there may be many other definitions that you can look at, but primarily mind does 4 functions. It helps you think, it helps you store memory, it helps you imaginate, that means whatever you've stored and seen, put together and you can create something out of your mind. And it also deals with one of the functions of the mind is consciousness. So we will try and talk about consciousness and try and see whether we can throw some light in subsequent videos. But as of now, we will focus to creating a model of the mind. So I'm going to give you a model of a mind now. And this model, again, it is one of the models. You can bring up something else, another way to define. But this one model, just go through it and probably it will help you get a better understanding. So let's try and understand this model of the mind. Mind is nothing but an energy sphere with the center at your umbilical, and it surrounds all around. Now, what is the size of the sphere? It depends, because this mind is capable to go to the tip of some universe and imagine certain things, and enter into a small cell and also imagine something. So this mind has got the capacity to travel everywhere. But for an individual, the mind centers around the center of his umbilical, and it's a energy sphere that surrounds you all over. We looked at the definitions, and there are 4 primary functions of the mind, that is of thought, memory, imagination, and consciousness. So remember these 4 points that are in the back of your mind, that these are the 4 functions that the mind does. All these 4 functions deal with some metaphysical element of your being. The next aspect that we are trying to talk about, the mind is divided in 2 parts, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And what divides the conscious mind to the subconscious mind is the critical filter. Now, what does the conscious mind do? The conscious mind is analyzes, thinks, plans, and has something called as the short-term memory. Everything else, that is the long-term memory, emotions and feelings, habits, relationships, patterns, addictions, involuntary body functions, creativity, developmental stages, spiritual connection and intuition, all is there in your subconscious mind. So this goes on to say that the subconscious mind is 9 times bigger, 6,000 times more powerful. All the game of life that you're playing, all the emotions, craziness, ill health, everything that is happening to you is happening in this space. And if you want to heal, it's not only in your conscious space that you need to go, or the physical body you go and treat with medicines, but if you can go into your subconscious mind and you can find answers, you will be able to play this game of life that we are playing, and the issues that we are having that can be solved here. And the subconscious mind further gets divided in two parts: the modern memory and the primitive mind. Now, some people will call the primitive mind as the unconscious mind, and the modern memory as subconscious mind. There are various other models that are there, but let's leave this, that there's conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind further gets divided into modern memory and the primitive mind. Everything that comes in from your genetic code and your past lives and multiple things get stored in the primitive mind. So the existence of primitive mind can very clearly, very easily, it says that it stores our entire evolutionary database. So your whole genetic coding and the reactions that come out of that, they are stored. That understanding at the cellular level, or at the brain level, or at the gene level, is all nothing but a dimension of your mind, and it's a part of your primitive mind. So it's the custodian and the historian of the journey of your existence. That is what we will define the primitive mind as. Primitive mind, the proof that primitive mind exists, or there are some things in terms of past record and things like that, is that there are two basic symptoms that we all naturally learn. Even a small child will have it. That is the fight and flight syndrome. So if there's danger, one will try and get to fighting, or one will try and flee that situation. And this is there in, it's a very basic animal instinct, and it somewhere gets coded. You don't have to learn. The mind does not have to learn this. So they say that, there's someone talking about it. He picks up a dog, a small puppy dog, and the puppy dog, experiencing the touch from another individual, starts to growl. And there's no experience. This is just a small born baby, but he experiences another touch, and which is not very comfortable, and that fear thing sets in. So similarly, they say that a small newborn child, when you hold it in a particular angle and it's not properly comfortable, it tries to reach out to his hands to support himself. So these are the kind of flight memories. They come through your primitive mind. There's also fear of loud noise and fear of falling, which is ingrained, and this go on to show that the primitive mind works. And if these are a few things that are so easily seen, there is much of these past records that may be there. So this constitutes what is called the primitive mind. Now let's come down to modern memory. Modern memory, like I said, stores everything about your existence in this life from womb till date. Everything that you relate to yourself, your feelings, your expressions, your emotions, everything is immediately stored here. Now what happens is, let's understand how the mind works. Between the 0 to 8 years, whatever you experience get directly stored into your subconscious mind. There's no clear-cut division between your conscious and subconscious mind. But over a period of time, between your 0 to 8 years, there's something known as a critical filter that gets developed for each individual. This critical filter is not something, it's not right or wrong. It gets developed for everyone depending on experience. So the critical conscious filter is a layer of judgments, and critical subconscious filter is a layer of emotional charge that you've been exposed to over a period of time. Both this put together, your emotional charge and your judgment will create your beliefs, and things will get developed. Now, what influences the formation of this filter? It's the socio-economical, educational, and religious beliefs over a period of time in the family between the child's age of 0 to 8 will give in multiple inputs, and multiple factors will lead to this filter to be made. And this filter is unique for every individual. The child then starts to operate and process the world outside. The earth school of duality, good, bad, right, wrong, gets established the moment this layer is there. The judgment and emotions are developed, help develop the belief system, and content. Now, whatever is experienced to you is now perceived through a context. So your judgment is like providing the context. So everything that you're experiencing, a child earlier will experience it as it is. But now with these filter being come in, everything that you're experiencing, it's like putting in a filter before it gets to you. So everyone experiencing something is very unique to himself. So this conscious filter is providing context to every true experience that you're having, which is very unique to your own mind and what you perceive. So what happens is during the day there are multiple amount of input or data that keeps coming in and our mind receives. So they say that there are 4,000 mind units per minute of data we are receiving. Multiple things, our sensory organs bring it, smell, and we are getting too much of data load that is happening. And all this data load, this may come from the environment, they come from the body, it may come from your conscious mind, or it may come from your subconscious mind. There is multiple data being fed to your conscious mind. This entire data will go and get locked into the filter. It will stay in your conscious mind, or it will go and stay in your filter for a period of 24 hours. In this 24 hours, whenever you sleep, this data will then get cleared. So what happens is, when we sleep, the first 2 hours it will sort whatever data is given to you in terms of what needs to be filtered and sent to your modern memory or to your subconscious mind, and what needs to be given away. So generally they say dreams happen in 3 parts. The first 2 hours of your dream, you are basically sorting this entire 24-hour data that you've got as to what out of it is important and what is not important. What is important or related will be sent inside. What is not important and not valuable may be thrown away, which is something that is too shocking and too drastic, may also be stored inside. So the first 2 hours, they are known as sorting dreams. You get dreams that will come out of sorting. The next 2 hours, some unwanted data is released that may form into giving you dreams known as venting dreams. And finally, after the data is entered inside, it changes the structure of your with the new data into your memory, in your subconscious mind. It changes the milieu, and then you will have something known as the predictive dreams. So there's something on the dreams we will again talk sometime later, but we need to understand that multiple inputs of data is received by the conscious mind through the day. It gets stored for 24 hours in our critical filter. Then the filter is cleared when we go off to sleep, and whatever important related data is stored directly into the mind. There are certain incidences, certain issues, the data may get stored directly also into the mind. Emotions can travel in. There are multiple postulates on this, but as of now we will understand this process through which things are getting into your mind. So once the data gets into your mind, it gets stored into in your modern memory, it gets stored into 2 filing systems. So one is known as the negative files, and there are known as the positive files. Obviously positive files bring you a lot of pleasure and they are associated with a lot of positive emotions, and there are negative files that are known with a lot of negative emotions. Generally it is seen whatever is unknown to you will get stored initially as a pain file. Over a period of time, and if you know and it doesn't cause harm, then it may become positive. And the entire game of our personality or mental health is related to what are the files that are stored here, because these files are there. Each file will have the incidents attached with certain emotions, with certain thoughts, with certain feelings, and there's a lot of charge on these files that are there when they are in your modern memory, and they may create a lot of issues that are there in the back of your mind. So in hypnotherapy, what we do, we probably help the individual to go and access these files, and we are not able to destroy these files. When those memory files have been created, they'll be there. What we can do is, through various techniques and modalities, we are able to take off the charge, dissociate the memory from the image or event, and the emotional charge and thoughts and the automated processes that are attached with it, which knowingly unknowingly are locked in there. We try and solve them. So there may be certain painful, certain unknown, certain negative files that may be stored right from your childhood, and these files may create problems while you are grown up. So this is one of the basic models of the mind. Read up, you will find many other people explaining on this, but we need to realize 4 things that are very, very critical here. One, that our subconscious mind is very, very powerful. It is 6,000 times more powerful than your conscious mind. It stores all the data from, the data may come in from your primitive mind also, but as of now we will stick down to from your womb till your date. Everything that has happened to you, there is data stored. It stores data as positive and negative files. Usually the data is, or usually most of these files, when they are stored in your mind, each of this data point has got, along with the data, the emotions and the feelings and multiple other things attached to it, and they may in an auto way do or impact many things into our mind space, causing some body changes, certain illnesses, certain mental issues, certain things, they may emerge from here. So in hypnotherapy, we go into your subconscious mind, we try and access these files and try and remove the charge that is attached to these files. So as of now, we will leave it at this. Keep watching my videos, and I'm sure you will be able to pick up something better, and this will give you some clarity in dealing with your journey on healing. Thank you very much.